There's been a lot of upheaval and change in the leadership of Azeroth after the Broken Shore. Varian Wrynn, the King of Stormwind and also the leader of the Alliance, heroically, in my opinion, heroically gave his life to let the Alliance escape the Legion so that they could survive. He gave his life to protect his people, died heroically, died like a total bamf, and left Anduin Wrynn, his son, to lead Stormwind and ideally the Alliance. There's going to be a lot of change in this because Varian, as much as he's developed as a carrier from the bloodthirsty warrior to a more temperate and calm and peace-seeking king and leader, as much as he's developed, Anduin is definitely a lot more on the side of diplomacy and peace and trying to run things peacefully, more so than Varian was. Varian, as tempered as he was still a fighter. Anduin not so much. I would say that he's actually almost a pacifist. He's not against fighting, but it's not his first or even second choice in how to deal with things. So there's going to be a lot of difference, I think, in how Anduin is going to lead compared to how Varian leads. But, of course, there wasn't just change on the Alliance side, there was a lot of change on the Horde side. Vol'jin, who was leader of the Trolls and the War Chief since Mists of Pandaria when he led a rebellion against Garrosh, he also died on the Broken Shore, or at the Broken Shore. He was wounded mortally. He was mortally wounded on the Broken Shore, and he died later on in Orgrimmar. But before he did, he named Sylvanas Windrunner, the leader of the Forsaken, as the next War Chief. Personally, I think this is a great idea, just in the fact that Sylvanas is a great leader. She's ruthless and cutthroat and gets things done, but she's also very strategic and she's smart. She knows when to let things go, and she knows when to go full force ahead and attack whatever target is she's going for. She can get things done. I think she would be a great war chief, aside from a few, a few big concerns that I have, mostly just logistics-wise. Now, looking at Sylvanas as a character, she's a former elf who used to be allied with the Alliance, who is now the leader of the Forsaken, but even in the Forsaken ranks, she's this beautiful elven banshee leading a bunch of rotting corpses. As much as I love the undead, as much as the next person, they're a bunch of rotting corpses, and you have this beautiful leader. It seemed just kind of out of character for the leader of the Forsaken. But most of all, the fact that both her and her Forsaken, who are former humans, she being a former elf, they're a little more civilized in their culture and their identity than a lot more races of the Horde. Most of the races of the Horde, the Tauren, the Trolls, even the Goblins, even kind of the Pandaren, they're a lot less civilized in the sense that they're more tribal. The Tauren and the Trolls and the Orcs, especially, even the Goblins, are a lot more tribal in their culture, in their cultural identity. So it's going to be interesting to see her and the Forsaken kind of being the lead race now, leading the Horde, as they're a little more civilized and they're a little more like the Alliance than most of the other races of the Horde. I think it could work. Maybe the Horde has worked with the Undead for so long that they're more adapted to each other's tactics and they work well together. But on the other hand, it's kind of like, just to use a comparison, it's kind of like Daenerys leading Meereen. She was trying to lead this Eastern civilization with Eastern ideals through Western methods, and it just didn't work. That was her biggest problem in Game of Thrones, and A Song of Ice and Fire is how she was trying to lead this new culture that's very different from the one that she was raised to believe in and lead from. When Vol'jin became War Chief, he moved from the Echo Isles, which is more or less the Darkspear capital, which I think they need to make an actual capital city for, but that's another discussion. He moved from the Echo Isles to Orgrimmar. Now, that made a little bit of sense because there's already a big troll presence in Orgrimmar, but there's not a lot of undead or even blood elf presence in Orgrimmar. So while it made sense for Vol'jin to come and lead from Orgrimmar, it doesn't work as well. I think Sylvanas leading from Orgrimmar, it will seem kind of out of place unless they make a drastic change to Orgrimmar, giving the undead and the blood elves more of a presence, basically giving the Eastern Kingdom's races more of a presence in Orgrimmar, the capital city. Now, she could move to Orgrimmar, or she could stay in Undercity. So would that make Undercity the new Horde capital with the new Horde faction leader in Undercity? That kind of puts a huge divide between the two Eastern Kingdoms races of the blood elves and the undead to all of the other Horde races on Kalimdor. And if Undercity becomes the new Horde capital, will there be more of an Orc and Troll and Tauren and Goblin and Pandaren presence in the Undercity? It'd be interesting to see how or if this changes. Plus, Sylvanas being in the Eastern Kingdoms in the Undercity, that puts both faction leaders of the Alliance and the Horde on the Eastern Kingdoms and kind of leaves Kalimdor out in the cold. Now, the Horde's gone through a lot of changes in the latest expansions between Cataclysm and Mists of Pandaria and Warlords of Draenor, and now Legion. Cataclysm, Thrall stepped away and left Garrosh in charge, and then Vol'jin led a rebellion in Mists of Pandaria to unthrone Garrosh, and now Vol'jin's dead, and Sylvanas is the war chief. There's gone through a lot of changes, but we've also lost a few key racial leaders, especially with Cairn Bloodhoof, who then his son Bane Bloodhoof took up the mantle as chieftain of the Taurens in Thunderbluff, but we've lost a few more. Losing Vol'jin, I think, is going to be a big deal, leaving the trolls basically leaderless. Losing Garrosh as the as the war chief and orc leader, that left really no leader for the orcs. It does look like that we're going to be getting Sourfang as the new orc racial leader. Hopefully that's the case and he's not just a stand-in. Hopefully they make him officially the race leader, but they also need to make a new troll racial leader. We've lost a lot of leaders in the Horde, and I think they really need to refill those ranks, or it's going to be a little more chaotic. I think this chaos is probably what they're going for with the story of the leadership in Legion, because it's the largest Legion invasion we've ever seen in Azeroth. So having the both Alliance and Horde already kind of in chaos in their leadership and how they're doing things is definitely going to be an advantage to the Legion. I think that's a big reason why the various classes are stepping up in a more frontal role. You have all the class holes, you have the, the different playable characters becoming, your own characters becoming the leaders of these classes. So I think that's going to be a big theme with Legion, is the chaos of the actual order of things, the actual, leaders of Azeroth kind of not doing what they need to be doing, or not doing things as well as they could be doing, and the classes kind of stepping up and taking care of this large Legion invasion. I think there will be a lot of interesting things happening with Legion, especially within the leadership of Azeroth, so it'd be interesting to see. I think both Anduin and Sylvanas could be great leaders. I've always thought Anduin was going to be a great leader, and I was very surprised to find out Sylvanas was going to be the leader, but after thinking about it for a minute, yeah, I think she can be a great leader, but I definitely do see some concerns, some problems that she might run into as leader of the Horde. But ultimately, I think both can do a great job, and I'll be interested to see how the characters develop and how the story develops once we get World of Warcraft Legion in a couple of weeks. What do you think of the change of leadership in World of Warcraft? Let me know in the comments, and follow me on all the internet. Share the video so others can join in the conversation, and if you like this video, give it a thumbs up and check out my Patreon so you can support more of my content. Also, check me out on templeofgeek.com so you can see mine and other creators' content. Follow me on all the internets and subscribe to my channel so we can geek out some more. Thanks for watching and have fun. So Captain America, Thor, Hulk.